We are live.
Let's turn the mic on here. The meeting of the Committee of the Whole and Planning Administration is now called to order. I'd ask you to rise as you're able for reading of the invocation. As we come together today, we recognize the great responsibilities laid upon us. Our council will always strive to understand the needs of the people we serve and to use power wisely and well. Our purpose is to establish and maintain a city of prosperity and righteousness where freedom prevails and justice rules. Let us also not forget those who served our community and who are no longer with us so that we can continue to do the work we must in their memory. Thank you. You can be seated. Roll call been taken?
Yes, it's been taken.
Thank you. Members of the council, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest for tonight's meeting? Councilor McCurry.
Chair Martin, yes, 7.1.5. It's related to a corporation which serves as my legal firm.
Okay. Any other conflicts? Okay, seeing none. Members of the committee, are there any items for consideration or consent you would like separated for discussion purposes? The following items are automatically separated. 7.1.2, 7.1.3 is there are delegations on those, as well as 7.1.5 because of Councilor McCurry's conflict. Councilor Sless.
7.1.1.
Any other separations?
You said 7.1.5, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Already
then
said.
no, that's good then, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further separations. Councilor Scully's not here. She was to move the resolution. So Councilor Sullivan, would you like to move the resolution to approve all items 7172, not separated?
Certainly. Just waiting for it to come up on the screen. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Caputo, that all items for consideration consent 7.1 to 7.2 not separated for discussion purposes be approved.
Okay, thank you. If the clerk could read all items that are subject to the vote and then proceed with the vote.
Thank you. All items that are subject to the vote are 7.1.4 Brantford 2050 City Vision, 7.1.6 Grapefield CIP Commercial Facade Landscaping and Connectivity Improvement Grant, 7.1.7 Proposed Purchasing Policy Amendment, 7.1.8 Fire Station Number 1 Mechanical Pit, 7.1.9 Town and Gown Advisory Committee Report, 7.2.1 Application for Bell Telecommunication Tower, 7.2.2 the minutes. Thank you, and that carried unanimously on recorded vote at 9-0. All those voting in favor are Councilor Sullivan, Caputo, Sless, Martin, McCurry, Carpenter, Hunt, Samlin, and Tilburg.
Thank you. We have no statutory public hearings or public meetings tonight. We have 8 delegations on tonight's agenda. Section 15.5.1 of our procedural bylaw allows for a maximum of 1 hour for delegations. Therefore, each delegation will have 7.5 minutes to address committee. Before hearing the delegations, I would like to remind those in the meeting today that the following rules of decorum as set forth in the city's procedural bylaw apply. No person shall display any sign, banner, or placard in the meeting room other than materials that, in the opinion of the chair, are legitimate audiovisual aids necessary in connection with any presentation to be made to council. All persons present shall use polite and respectful language and shall refrain from the use of any language or making of any gesture that is disrespectful or offensive. All persons addressing council should speak only to the subject in debate and shall not speak to any other subject. And no person shall applaud participants in debate or engage in conversations or behavior that may disrupt the proceedings of the meeting. And so at this point, I'll ask Bonnie, Kate, and Cameron to come forward to speak to item 7.1.2, demolition of detached garage and potential remedies to the designated dwelling at 135 Sydenham Street, property designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. You will have 7.5 minutes for your presentation.
Good evening. We are here this evening to ask for approval for the demolition of the garage at 135 Sydenham. It's in the backyard. It's not visible from the street. And we'd like to demolish it and build tiny house for me to live in. So if there's any questions?
That's your presentation. Are there any questions? Councilor Carpenter.
So this tiny house that you're gonna put into the backyard.
Yes.
When would you like to start construction? When would you like to be finished?
September 2nd.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Seeing none of the questions, thank you for your presentation. We'll deal with this shortly. Okay, I'll ask members of the Chamber of Commerce to come forward to speak to item 8.4, advocacy for provincial scrap metal legislation and bail system reform. You have 7.5 minutes.
Good evening, Councillor Martin and councillors. My name is John Odie, President of the Chamber of Commerce, Brantford Brant. With me this evening is Elizabeth Lorenzen, Chair of the Advocacy Committee and Director of our Board of Directors. Brian Witterbean of Stroh's Barbecue and Deli, Mark Oppenhammer of Brant Steel Products. In attendance are Wanda and Tom Kirkby of Modern Heating, Louis Belaz of Vibe Mechanical, Paul LeBlanc, a business owner also operated in Brantford, and Nick Brunel of TNC Trucking and Warehousing. We are here in support of a formal letter advocating for the transition of a municipal scrap metal bylaw into a provincial statute, as well a call to strengthen the bail system and better protect communities. The Chamber and the business owners in our local community attended a Ward 4 town hall on June 23rd. Thank you to Councillors Hunt and Carpenter for organizing this. As we heard at the meeting, there isn't a business owner who doesn't have a story, not just a, hey, this happened to me kind of story, but a often gripping, grueling, gut-wrenching story where your business life is literally turned upside down. The true cost of these crimes is not the $10 worth of copper that the individual has stolen from the air conditioner. The true cost of these crimes is not just the garbage that lays around the plaza because of a dumpster diver who searches for a product to resell, sometimes is worth as little as $1. No, and no again.
The true costs are these: the cost to repair, to replace damage to property. And these costs are into the millions of dollars for our local community of small business owners. We are talking about costs that we don't normally budget for. It's not a line item on your income statement. You don't know it's coming until it's actually there in front of you. The stress of the situation. Let's say you're an owner of a pet store. Presumably you're an expert on pets. What you're not an expert in is how to make sure that your air conditioner has some kind of steel cage or whatever it is to make sure that nobody gets at your air conditioner, because somebody's going to take the $25 worth of copper and leave you with $40,000, $50,000 worth of damage. The uncertainty around insurance claims. Whether the resulting damage is insurable or not. You worry about that. And whether the business owner will be even insurable into the future as a result of repeat incidents. The costs that are ultimately passed on to the consumer in the form of an increase in price to services or products. Consumers will bear the burden of these crimes. And the one true cost, the one most devastating true cost is that a business owner can just not survive as a result of these incidents. You do not have the money to repair or replace. You do not have the personal wherewithal to deal with the stress. The insurance company will not cover the damage, or consumers are simply not buying your service or product any longer. You give up, you quit, you close your business doors, and it really does happen in that way. For years, business owners have been spending time, they have been spending resources and money to figure out how to deal with vandalism, thefts, and break-ins. The time for a provincial strategy is now. Businesses have done their part, their best part. They have put their best foot forward in this situation. We have done it bravely, and we have done it with perseverance. But we cannot continue to do this alone. Councillor Hunt, you heard us on June 23rd. You heard the passion from my colleagues who are here today and those who are in the audience. Businesses need help. They need real help, meaningful help. The provincial strategy cannot come fast enough. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Okay, other questions? Councillor Hunt.
First of all, thank you for coming on behalf of the chamber, and to Mark and Brian for coming up. I've heard the stories, countless stories since being elected, and I can tell you, as a small business owner in Ward 4 myself, I too have also experienced the vandalism that's caused. I also just wanted to ask you, from the standpoint of our goal here, which is to make this a provincial legislation that can be enforced across the province, do you feel as a chamber that other chambers in the province, and therefore representing other small businesses across the province, would agree with this kind of legislation?
I can only speak on our chamber, and I'm sure, speaking with other chambers as time goes on, they will all be in agreement. I mean, we have to look at the businesses that are here. We look at the businesses that are out there. It's affecting them. And when it affects them, it affects the sponsorship of Little League. It affects the sponsorship of hockey teams for kids and extracurricular stuff. You look at the businesses that are represented. They've all been longtime businesses employing local citizens, supporting our local minor sports, whatever that is. And it's not just the fact that when this happens to them, it's catastrophic. And they have it's a ripple effect. And because of somebody having to spend $30,000 or $40,000 to replace something means they can't sponsor that hockey team or that Little League team. Well, it's going to suffer, and the kids suffer, and everybody suffers.
Again, thank you very much for coming.
Councillor Van Tilburg, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question for the delegates. When these offenses occur, and you've actually mentioned minor costs of the company, but big costs in its whole to the damage to the company, what is your thoughts on the fact that in the court system, sentencing often ends up with referrals to house arrest? Do you think that this is helping the matters any?
We're back to the catch and release. And I mean, I'm a fisherman and I throw away fish just as quick as somebody gets bail. So it's that has to be tightened up. And they get caught, they get arrested, they're out on bail. And it's one big giant circle.
Thank you. That's the time for this delegation. I'll ask Lily Cottrell Khan to come forward to speak to items 7.1.3, Bill 5 and Bill 17, legislative updates and impacts to Brantford. You'll have 7.5 minutes to present to present. You need to turn your microphone on. There. Okay, you're on now.
Thank you. My name is Lily. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. It is my first time attending one of these meetings, so just bear with me a little bit. So, to begin, my name is Lily and I'm a local resident and environmental advocate, and I'm here to formally oppose the Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act, otherwise known as Bill 5. I'm strongly suggesting that you, City Council members, follow in the same direction and formally oppose this bill. The aforementioned legislation puts our local protected lands, species, educational and cultural opportunities, and general environment at risk to be taken and used for developmental purposes. Brantford is surrounded by natural history and land. The Grand River flows throughout the city and connects many individuals together. We have conservation areas and natural recreation and educational areas. 55,761 visitors were reported along the SC Johnson Trail in 2024. This number doesn't include the other trail sections in town, meaning most likely the number of people utilizing Brantford's natural areas is actually higher. These are places for people to fish, bike, hike, paddle, birdwatch, camp, places for them to reconnect to themselves and to the world around them. Imposing Bill 5 means risking losing these areas, as well as Bill 5 ensures weaker protections for wildlife species that live in Brant and species at risk in general. Replacing the Species at Risk Act with the Species Conservation Act, as Bill 5 intends to do, changes the very foundation of how we protect species at risk in Ontario and Brant County. Previously, when the Committee of the Statute of Species at Risk in Ontario, or CSARO, identified a plant or animal as endangered, threatened, or of special concern, it had to be legally listed. That listing triggered protection measures and recovery planning. Under Bill 5, that is no longer mandatory. Instead, the Lieutenant Governor and Council, has the discretion to decide which species make it onto the official list, even if CSARO scientifically confirms a species is endangered. The governor could choose not to list it, and if a species is removed from the list, every legal protection it has disappears instantly. This is not just a technical change, it means species like the eastern meadowlark, Blanding's turtle, or monarch butterfly, all found in and around Brant County, could lose their protections overnight if they're politically inconvenient for development. This shifts species protection from being a science-based requirement to a more political option. Furthermore, Bill 5 in Section 17 removes the current conditions that had to be met before a permit could be issued to harm endangered species or its habitat. In the past, applicants had to prove there was no reasonable alternative to their activity, minimize the damage as much as possible, and take steps to help the species recover, often by contributing financially to conservation efforts. Now, under the new Bill 5, those safeguards are gone. Permits can be approved even if the harm is avoidable, with no plan to reduce it, and with little to no investment in restoring what's been destroyed. Bill 5 also strips away key enforcement roles and tools used to protect endangered species and the environment. It removes the requirement for a warrant in certain inspections, meaning officers could enter without judicial oversight, yet at the same time it actually limits their ability to do anything to stop harm. Enforcement officers can no longer issue stop orders to immediately halt damaging activities. Instead, provincial officers can only issue contravention orders after the fact, and the minister may issue mitigation. Although by the time these orders are issued, the nesting site of the eastern meadowlark could potentially already be destroyed, the Blanding turtle's wetland drained, and the monarch species pushed closer to becoming endangered once again. Once these habitats are gone, they're gone for good. Bill 5 replaces proactive protection with post-operative damage control. When it comes to extinction, there's no such thing as damage control, only loss. While I do strongly believe that the town itself does need development and that it is a sticky situation, I don't believe that putting our endangered species, our voices of our Indigenous people and our citizens aside in order to continue development. And that is everything I have for you today. Thank you so much.
You did well for your first time. Any questions?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'll ask Eric Walker to come forward to speak to item 7.1.3, Bill 5 and 17, legislative updates and impacts. You'll have 7.5 minutes to present, inclusive of questions.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Erica Walker. I am very well known in the community as a self-taught butterfly expert, active pollinator enthusiast, and the founder of Protecting the Butterfly Species across Canada. I am very concerned with Bill 5, so I'm here today as a voice for those who cannot speak for themselves, such as the bees who pollinate our crops, the butterflies who pollinate our flowers, and fill the sky with color, and the birds and other wildlife who call our forests their homes. Monarch butterflies rely on milkweed for the survival and to complete the life cycle. The monarch is one of our endangered butterfly species, where it is illegal to destroy, move, or remove their habitat. With Bill 5, it will bulldoze milkweed to make room for new projects. The mottled dusky wing is a rare and endangered butterfly species in Ontario. It relies on oak savanna and tall grass prairie habitats for their survival. They depend on New Jersey tea for the young's survival and for their life cycle. Bill 5 will remove this plant as well as the habitats that this butterfly needs to live. The Conner blue butterfly is another one of our endangered butterfly species. Sadly, this butterfly has extirpated in the province of Ontario, which means it is locally extinct and is no longer in the area. It depends on rare habitats such as oak savannas and pine barrens to thrive. This butterfly relies on wild lupin for the caterpillar's survival and to complete the life cycle. Bill 5 will remove these habitats and wild lupin colonies to make room for more buildings and to make it difficult for this butterfly to return. The West Virginia white is a spring butterfly and is found in woodland forests in Ontario. It depends on native toothwort plants to lay the eggs, but invasive garlic mustard tricks it into laying eggs on a plant that kills the larvae. Habitat loss, pigmentation, and invasive species have already pushed this butterfly into decline. Bill 5 would make things worse by removing protections for its forest habitat and eliminating recovery plan for this butterfly. The rusty patch bumblebee is officially listed as an endangered species in Canada, and its presence in the province of Ontario is very rare, where it only has been spotted a couple of times since 2002. This bee relies on native flowers and undisturbed nesting sites, such as rodent burrows in meadows and woodlands. Without safeguards, these habitats are vulnerable to development and degradation. Bill 5 will eliminate recovery strategy requirements, and there will be no plan to restore populations. Native bees, such as mason bees, leafcutter bees, sweet bees, and mining bees, are important pollinators for our wildflowers, trees, and food crops. They are already under severe stress from habitat loss, pesticide use, and climate change. These bees need a variety of native plants for nectar and pollen, hollow stems from plants, and forest habitats to survive. With Bill 5, it will put our bees closer to extinction by removing protections and habitats. The pipevine swallowtail is one of our butterfly species at risk, and sadly it is listed as threatened here in Ontario. This butterfly depends on woodland, forest, and open field habitats to survive. They rely on a native vine called Dutchman's pipevine for egg laying, a food source for the babies, and to complete the life cycle. With Bill 5, it will remove the plant that they rely on, the habitats, the protections that they need, and nectar sources. This bill will also put them as an endangered butterfly species. Night pollinators like moths, beetles, and bats play a vital role in our ecosystems by pollinating nocturnal flowers such as our common evening primrose and supporting biodiversity. They rely on forests, wetlands, meadows, and even roadsides, where they provide food, shelter, and breeding grounds. These pollinators also depend on native plants and total darkness for feeding and mating behaviors. If Bill 5 comes to play, it will not only cause these important creatures to be at risk, but it will also strip their homes and bring in artificial lighting that is unhealthy. Ontario's forests are home to countless birds and wildlife, from songbirds and owls to foxes, amphibians, and pollinators that rely on intact ecosystems for nesting, feeding, and migration. These species need healthy habitats with native plants, clean water, and undisturbed corridors to survive. But Bill 5 threatens to dismantle these protections by fast-tracking development and repealing the Endangered Species Act. Without legal safeguards, forests can be cleared out, wetlands drained, and nesting grounds destroyed, leaving wildlife with nowhere to go and cause more populations declines across the province. Bill 5 doesn't just threaten wildlife, it puts our food security at risk. By removing protections for forest, wetlands, and endangered species, the bill endangers pollinators like bees, moths, and butterflies that are essential for crops such as fruits, vegetables, and nuts. It also allows industrial development to override environmental safeguards, which will lead to unhealthy soil, water pollution, and habitat loss. These changes weaken the natural systems that farmers rely on, making our food supply more vulnerable to collapse and less resilient to climate change. In the face of Bill 5, we must ask ourselves, what kind of legacy do we want to leave behind? This legislation threatens the very fabric of Ontario's natural heritage, its endangered species, its forests, its wetlands, and the delicate balance that sustains life. If we allow these protections to be stripped away, we risk losing not just wildlife, but the clean air, water, and biodiversity that we depend on. The monarch, mottled rescue wing, the night pollinators, the birds in our forests, they are not just symbols of nature, they are indicators of our own well-being. Let's stand together to defend what cannot speak for itself, because protecting wildlife is not just an environment issue, it's a human one. Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for your presentation. I see no questions, so thank you very much. With that, I'll ask Rod Philpott to come forward to speak to item 7.1.3. You will have 7.5 minutes to present, inclusive of questions.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for this opportunity to address the matter at hand. My name is Rod Philpott. I am a communications consultant, a political strategist, and an academic researcher with a focus on public policy and public trust. It is with that perspective that promote me to come out here today and discuss this matter with you. Bill 5, the Protecting Ontario by Unleashing the Economy Act 2025. It certainly conveys a sense of urgency and ambition. However, if adopted uncritically, it risks further eroding public trust in our institutions, including this council. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario have already voiced serious concerns, warning that Bill 5's changes could undermine local decision-making authority. For example, Bill 5 centralizes certain approvals in a way that ignores local context. It limits municipalities' ability to adapt provincial policies to specific local needs. The one that actually bothers me the most, possibly, it reduces the scope, frequency, or even the necessity of public consultations. Now, we're all well aware of how public trust can fray when the public feels excluded from public land works, such as would be affected by this bill. You are also quite aware that when it comes to provincial projects, for example, maybe the repairs to an overpass, the public has a tendency not to look at the province as the cause of the delay in traffic, and instead they misdirect it down to you, the councillors and staff who work for the city. As someone who works and studies within political communications, I can tell you this. Public trust is the foundation of sound governance. Trust is not an automatically induced item. It is earned when residents see their council acting transparently, engaging meaningfully, and remaining accountable to the people. When decisions are perceived as imposed from outside or on high or without public consultation, that trust is damaged, and it's much harder to rebuild than to preserve. With that in mind, I respectfully urge the council this evening to not simply accept Bill 5 uncritically. Instead, I would ask that you push back against this problematic policy by reaffirming a commitment to comprehensive and transparent consultations before adopting any changes mandated by Bill 5, which ensures residents will have a meaningful opportunity to express their perspectives and concerns. Secondly, a commitment towards active engagement with municipal partners and provincial representatives to seek adaptations that will allow for Brantford's specific needs and realities. Lastly, a clear commitment towards accountability measures to monitor and publicly report on the bill's local impacts, ensuring transparency, legitimacy, and ongoing public engagement. Now, I realize that how the structure of these policies work with the province and municipalities, they come down to you. However, this evening on the matter before you, you are going to send a message to the people of this city, to other municipalities, to the province, and future councils. I ask you to ensure that that message is one of protecting not just Ontario's economy, but also Brantford's voice. Economic growth must remain anchored in public trust, transparency, and local accountability. Thank you, Council, for respecting my right to be heard, for your time, and for your service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I see no questions, so have a good night. I'll ask Carly Karsotis to come forward to speak to item 7.1.3. You'll have 7.5 minutes to present, inclusive of questions.
Good evening, Council. As you may know, my name is Carly Sortis, and I'm here tonight as a resident of Ward 5. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak here tonight, not just for myself, but for many residents who have reached out with their concerns about Bill 5. I'm here to ask that Council go simply beyond receiving Bill 5. As you've heard tonight, and you'll continue to hear, this legislation strips away local authority, weakens protections for endangered species, and gives the province the power to override our bylaws without our consent. Our own planning staff have made it clear these changes will limit Brantford's accountability and ability to protect our natural heritage and make decisions in the best interest of our community. I understand we can't change provincial law here tonight, but what we can do is make sure Brantford's voice is on record. I'm asking you to amend the motion so it does two things. Make a clear statement of opposition to Bill 5. Direct staff to send that position to the province and to our local MPPs.
If you do not amend this motion tonight, you're effectively saying yes to removing critical protections for over 230 endangered species in Ontario and allowing their habitats to be destroyed without scientific review or oversight. You're saying yes to letting developers bypass Brantford's official plans and bylaws through special economic zones where a community carefully built these rules will now no longer apply. You're saying yes to exempting development from archaeological assessments, even when they may destroy Indigenous burial sites or cultural heritage. I will note that the Ontario Archaeology Association official statement is that it's in opposition of Bill 5, which in their words allows the province unprecedented power to reduce or eliminate the requirement for archaeological and environmental assessments. You're saying yes to stripping residents and our Indigenous neighbors of their right to be consulted on projects that affect their land, their water, and their future. You're saying yes to bypassing the Environmental Bill of Rights, taking away the public's ability to comment or to appeal. You're also saying yes to approving major industrial projects without environmental assessments, removing the opportunity to address pollution, displacement, or long-term health impacts. You're also saying yes to housing projects that ignore the infrastructure, environmental safeguards, and planning tools needed for responsible and sustainable growth. If council simply receives the report without amendment, this is the reality you're voting against tonight, and the residents will see it that way. Here in Brantford, we know we're neighbors to the Six Nations of the Grand River and Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, both of whom expressed strong opposition in Bill 5. This is a serious concern in our relationship and demonstrates a deep lack of understanding of the historical and temporary relationships, and it ignores the statement made by Six Nations of the Grand River and the Chiefs of Ontario in opposition of Bill 5. This bill undermines our commitment to allyship, to the land stewardship, and to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action, which emphasizes meaningful consultation of prior and informed consent before development, and a lot more. This is also about democracy itself. Democracy is built on listening to all voices, and Bill 5 reduces that standard. It sends a message that if you disagree with the province, they simply don't have to listen to you. How is this aligned with our commitment for our duty to consult? You don't need to write a bill to deny someone's voice, but Bill 5 does exactly that. Our city has been long concerned about local issues and the lack of public consultation as seen in past matters debated right here in the chambers during my years of community involvement, including the decisions made about Arrowdale. You cannot continue on the path of not listening to our constituents, and when the voices are excluded, trust in government erodes and the quality of our decisions suffer. Again, I recognize that Bill 5 is being sold as a way to speed up housing approval, and we all support the goal of increasing housing supply and fostering economic growth. So I will share the County of Brant's motion that said it very well. They wholeheartedly support building more housing, but it must be done without undermining environmental protections or compromising municipal planning processes. The province should be helping municipalities grow responsibly by pairing housing projects with infrastructure investments that protect sensitive wildlife, natural resources, community health, and not by stripping away safeguards. We've also seen more leadership from our neighbors and peers. The County of Brant urges the province to advance growth through policies that respect environmental planning principles and upholds municipal planning tools. Cornwall, Kingston, Prince Edward County, Centre Wellington, and Essex have taken similar stance, sending letters, passing motions, and joining a growing province-wide pushback. So I want to let you know that these actions tonight really do matter. When municipalities speak together, it becomes much harder for the province to ignore all of our voices in Brantford, and we really do need your support here tonight. If you simply receive the report tonight without a comment or amendment, we are sending a very different message to everyone in this room and everybody who is watching here tonight online. It says that Brantford is okay with the province taking away our tools to protect the environment, that we're okay with weakening Indigenous consultation, heritage protections, and endangered species safeguards, that we're okay with the ability of residents to shape our future without shaping our future in our own community. Bill 5 is unfortunately law, but that doesn't mean we have to accept it quietly. We can still send a strong message to the province that Brantford values our environment, our heritage, our Indigenous neighbors, our housing goals, and our right to make decisions locally. So I am asking council tonight to amend the motion to state council's opposition in the part of Bill 5 that undermines local authority, environmental protections, and meaningful consultation with Indigenous nations. And to direct staff to send that motion to the province, to AMO, and to our local MPPs. This step will ensure that our community's concerns are on record and that Brantford's voice joins their growing list of municipalities. So we have a choice here tonight to be silent or to let these changes happen without resistance, or to stand with other municipalities and protect our democratic voice. So elected council, please stand up for our city, our environment, our Indigenous neighbors, and our right to decide our own future. Thank you for the time to speak. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I see no questions, so thank you very much for your presentation. I'll ask Daryl Casey to come forward to speak to item 7.1.3. You will have 7.5 minutes to present, inclusive of questions.
Councilors and fellow residents, my name is Daryl Casey from Ward 1. And I'm here today because of our democratic process and our community's voice are under threat from Ontario's Bill number 5. Bill 5 is a dangerous shift of power away from citizens and local governments towards a small group of cabinet ministers who can make and unmake the rules without our consent. One of the most alarming provisions in Bill 5 is the creation of special economic zones. Areas where provincial and municipal laws, including environmental protections, can be suspended. These zones can be declared anywhere. And if that includes Brantford, it could mean our bylaws, our planning processes, our environmental safeguards are simply brushed aside. How is eliminating the voice of people from Brantford okay? Projects like the OPRE, the Oak Park Road Extension, is a perfect example of why this is dangerous. People of Brantford have been clear for 30 years. The OPRE is costly, destructive to the environment, and deeply unpopular. Yet under Bill 5, it could be pushed through without proper public consultation, environmental review, or municipal oversight. Bill 5 gives the province the power to sidestep our voices entirely. Even if the majority says no, the decision can still be made behind closed doors with no real way for citizens to challenge it. If they can use this law to ram through a project like the OPRE, despite its unpopularity, they can do it again for anything else. We cannot allow this precedent to be set here in Brantford. We must recognize that Bill 5 and Bill 17 are anti-democratic. They silence communities, and they remove the checks and balances that should be in place in any municipal government. But this just isn't about one project. This is about whether our voices matter in shaping the city we live in. It's about whether local councils will still have the authority to stand up for their residents when a development threatens their community's well-being. Using Bill 5 is like opening a Pandora's box for future decisions. Once these extraordinary powers exist, they can be used again and again on any project in any community without public scrutiny or accountability. Even if you support a decision today, the same unchecked process could be used tomorrow for something that you deeply oppose. Critics from organizations like the Canadian Environmental Law Association, Environmental Defense, and Democracy Watch have all sounded the alarm. They warn that Bill 5 creates de facto law-free zones, undermines municipal autonomy, and concentrates power in the hands of a few. It erodes transparency and strips residents of the right to challenge harmful developments in court. Development does not have to come at the cost of democracy. Let me repeat that for everybody up there on YouTube. Development does not have to come at the cost of democracy. We can and should pursue growth in ways that are transparent, accountable, and fully informed to the public. That means maintaining the right for citizens to question, challenge, and improve major projects. It means keeping decisions in the open and not behind closed doors. I'm asking this council to take a strong public position against Bill 5 and advocate for full public input on the OPRE or any other major developments in Brantford. Our voices should not be optional. They are the foundation of a healthy, functioning democracy. As councillors, you are the forefront of a local democracy. You represent our voices. I urge you to make it clear to the province that Brantford will not stand for laws that silence its residents, strip its council of power, and open the door to unaccountable decision-making. Once we give away our voice, we may never get it back. Thank you.
I see no questions, so thank you for your presentation. Well, there is one question. Councilor Carpenter?
Thank you. Yes, yeah, sorry, Daryl. Are you aware that the province did this recently with the Conservation Act and made those changes through minister's orders?
Yes, and as you look at everything that's been presented tonight, especially what Carly presented, and the environmental side of what they've done is absolutely astounding. To be able to greenlight a project when there's endangered species involved, to be able to greenlight a project when I don't have to have Indigenous consultation, is against what we've been working as councillors, as residents of Brantford, since the beginning that this council was made. Think about the amount of councillors and mayors that we've had. They've all had one thing in common: democracy, debate. This takes that away.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. I'll now ask Ron Fox to come forward to speak to item 7.1.3. You'll have 7.5 minutes to present, inclusive of questions.
Good evening, friends, neighbors, members of council. My name is Ron Fox and I live here in Brantford. I'm proud to call this city home. I'm here tonight because I'm deeply concerned about Bill 5 to protect Ontario by unleashing our Economy Act 2025. And I want to share why I believe it's dangerous for Brantford, for Ontario, and for future generations. On the surface, Bill 5 is being sold as a way to cut red tape and unlock economic potential. But when you look closely, it's clear this bill does something far more troubling. It strips away vital environmental protections, weakens our democratic processes, and takes decision-making power away from our local communities like ours. Bill 5 creates something called special economic zones. In these zones, many municipal bylaws, environmental standards, and planning rules can simply be bypassed. That means decisions about development in our city could be made in Toronto behind closed doors without meaningful input from Brantford residents or our elected local leaders. It also repeals Ontario's Endangered Species Act and replaces it with a much weaker law. Here in Brantford, we're surrounded by sensitive habitats from the Grand River watershed to our wetlands that are home to species already under stress. This bill would make it easier to bulldoze those habitats in the name of progress. And let's not forget the impact on Indigenous rights. Brantford sits on the Haldimand Tract, land that belongs to the Six Nations of the Grand River through treaty. Bill 5 undermines consultation requirements with First Nations, opening the door to development without free, prior, and informed consent. That's not just bad policy, it's a violation of trust and a step backward for reconciliation. But there's another financial angle we need to talk about, because reckless legislation doesn't just harm our environment, it hits our wallets too. The province has already passed Bill 17, which reduces the development charges that cities like Brantford can collect from developers and even lets them delay paying until the building is occupied. In plain language, that means the city gets less money from developers and gets it later. For decades, Brantford has followed a simple and fair principle. Growth should pay for growth. New developments should cover the cost of the roads, water, sewers, and services they require. But Bill 17 breaks that principle, shifting those costs to you, the taxpayer, permanently. And when the city collects less from developers, we still have to pay for the infrastructure somehow. That somehow is higher taxes or fewer services. Make no mistake, this is effectively a tax increase for every single resident. So when we talk about Bill 5 and its push for unchecked development, we can't ignore the financial trap that's already been set with Bill 17. Together, they mean more control in provincial hands, less local say, more environmental risk, and a heavier bill for the people of Brantford. I'm not against growth. I'm against reckless growth. Growth that puts short-term profit ahead of long-term well-being. Growth that silences local voices and puts decision-making power into the hands of a few provincial ministers. Brantford has worked hard to balance development with environmental stewardship and fiscal responsibility. We have local expertise, local bylaws, and a local vision for our future. Bill 5 sweeps that aside. So tonight I'm asking our municipal leaders to take a stand. Speak up to the province. Let them know that Brantford will not accept being sidelined in decisions that shape our land, our water, our future, and our financial stability. And to my fellow residents, pay attention. Read these bills. Talk to your neighbors. This is not just about politics. It's about the place we call home and about whether we leave it better than we found it. Bill 5 takes us in the wrong direction. Let's make sure Brantford speaks up before it's too late. Thank you.
Councilor Carpenter.
Yeah, there's a part of the bill that talks about making public utilities out of wastewater and water treatment. Have you read that part of the bill?
I haven't read that part of the bill. No.
Then I glanced. And there's also part of the bill that talks about expanded expropriation rights. You know that act. Have you read that piece as well?
Sorry, I haven't. No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Okay, seeing no further questions, thank you for your presentation. If there's no objections from council, we'll deal with items that have delegations first. Councilor Hunt, if you could please move your resolution and state your seconder.
Very pleased to. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Carpenter. Advocacy for provincial scrap metal legislation and bail system reform. Whereas a town hall meeting hosted by councillors of Ward 4 was held on Monday, June 23rd, 2025, to discuss recommendations and actions taken to address ongoing concerns from local businesses regarding break-ins, theft, and vandalism. And whereas Ward 4 business owners were invited to share their experiences and to contribute to identifying actionable steps to theft concerns and help identify steps to foster a safer and more secure environment for businesses in Brantford. And whereas staff from the City of Brantford Bylaw and Security Department and a representative from Brantford Police Services provided presentations outlining current measures and actionable recommendations. And whereas business owners in attendance requested that a formal letter be drafted advocating for the transition of the municipal scrap metal bylaw into a provincial statute to be addressed to MPP Will Boma, Attorney General of Ontario Doug Downey, MP Larry Brock, and Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada Sean Fraser. And whereas business owners further requested that the letter include a call to strengthen the bail reform system to better protect communities by ensuring repeat offenders are not prematurely released. Now therefore be it resolved that City Council directs staff to prepare a formal advocacy letter to MPP Will Boma, Attorney General of Ontario Doug Downey, MP Larry Brock, and Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada Sean Fraser, recommending the transition of the municipal scrap metal bylaw to a provincial statute. The letter to be completed by August 31st, 2025, and should include a request to strengthen the bail system to enhance community safety, and 2, testimonials from local business owners detailing the financial and operational impacts of break-ins, theft, and vandalism, including threats to personal safety and the financial burden of increased insurance costs. And that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to MPP Will Boma, MP Larry Brock, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. And if I can speak to it. So this is a move by us as a council to take a bylaw that we initiated back in 2024 to advocate the province to turn that bylaw or the format of that bylaw into a provincial statute. So the intention of our bylaw, which came out of, again, hearing from a number of businesses about the impacts of break-ins, theft, and vandalism, primarily metals and scrap metals. When we brought that bylaw in, the intent was that if they can't sell it, then they won't need to steal it. And our intentions were good. However, because it is a municipal bylaw, we do not have any control over what is accepted at scrap metal yards in other municipalities. And so it became very apparent in the just over a year and a half since we've had this bylaw in place that it has not deterred the break-ins, the thefts, and the vandalism that our business community is expecting. And I think our business community needs to be supported. I've long been a staunch supporter of small businesses in our community. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy. And economic development is not all about getting the next big business to come to town. Economic development is doing everything that we can as a council to support our existing business community. And we've got small businesses in the room that have been around for decades, and they support, they employ people in our community, they support, as we heard, local organizations, and they're represented by the Chamber of Commerce being the voice of business. So it's extremely important for us to advocate for the province to make this provincial legislation, but also to be able to talk to our neighboring communities and have them also embrace this type of legislation and call on the province to. So the more municipalities that get behind this, the better it is. We talk about it's not just the theft, which if you file your first insurance claim, your premium goes up. You try to file your second insurance claim and your insurance company basically tells you that you're non-insurable. It's the disruption to your business. If you have a business that requires, and I see a gentleman in the room that owns a commercial business, but if you own a building that the tenants expect to have air conditioning, especially in the middle of a heat wave, then it disrupts your business to the point where this isn't something you can get fixed the next morning. So there's the business disruption. There's the stress. I've heard stories from people that are watching, they've got cameras in place and they're watching people break into their businesses when they're at home in the middle of the night.
That's your time. Would you like to be put on the list again?
I'll go on the list for a second.
Thank you. Councilor Carpenter.
Our mates covered it very well. First of all, I want to thank all the businesses that stood with us because we were going to do this a little faster. I didn't think we were able to meet that timeline of 2 weeks. Getting forward, we did discuss this with Will Boma already. The province of Alberta has such legislation in place, and so it doesn't have to be rewritten. And we've already asked Will Boma, our MPP, to look at the provincial legislation that Alberta has, because we said it's coming your way. We're going to be asking you to look at that to make that same kind of legislation in Ontario. As my ward mate says, it doesn't work very well if one municipality does something. It's got to be province wide. Otherwise, they just take those scrap metals someplace else. The individuals in the community that are doing this, they even when the police catch them, they take them jail, they book them, and then they actually, I've had police officers say, they just laugh at me, say, I'm gonna be out in 2 hours. And they are, because we have this, Ontario has this catch and release policy. So, you know, what I'm asking for as well with legislation for the province of Ontario, step up, start hiring some more judges, start building more jails. The public's, not just businesses, but the whole community is tired of people breaking the law and nothing actually happening, not getting to the court date and time because there isn't enough judges, not getting sentenced because they're, maybe the province doesn't want to pay the expense of the jail costs. But there needs to be a penalty for these things when they happen, when people do them. I've been there. I've been to a business in my ward on Hackhorn Drive. I went, owner cried on my shoulder. It was, you lose, it's not just the theft. It's that they broke into your premise. They attacked your business. People that have been in business community for 30 years, trying to make a business, and then you know, people break in on their property and do significant damage. As my ward mate said, you know, $50,000, $100,000 damage, so they can get $25 worth of copper. I myself sat in front of a business that was taking the said copper, and the business owner didn't like that I was there. And I said, look, you're taking stolen stuff. You know it's stolen because it's still got the tags on it from the place that was just stolen from yesterday. And the response I got was, well, that's the police's responsibility, not mine. It's everybody's responsibility, whether you buy stolen goods from somebody, whether you see someone stealing something and you don't do anything about it. We all have a responsibility. And I think the province needs to step up with their responsibility as well, make this legislation provincial wide, and provide the resources so that when people are caught breaking the law in our community, that they serve some time. We used to one time have a place here called Birch, worked very well for petty crime. And you went to Birch, you learned how to either work in the field, they grew their own vegetables. They raised cattle. It was profitable. Then the Conservative government at the time decided, well, they're making it profitable. Let's get rid of the vegetables. Let's get rid of the cattle. No longer profitable. Guess we got to close it. We need a new super jail. Back then, Brantford was the kind of city where you could leave your doors unlocked. Criminals would go into the super jails and they'd say, you should come to Brantford. They didn't even lock the doors there. And so we took small time criminals and sent them to professional jails, prisons, where they learned big time crime. That's what we did. Instead of, you know, and Birch worked very well. You know, maybe you were a small criminal, you stole bicycles or small crime, whatever it might have been. And then you learn the work ethic because you get up in the morning and you work in the field and you work with the cattle. And when you left there, you thought, hey, this work isn't so bad. Maybe I'll work for a living instead of steal for a living. So we need to make these changes fundamentally in our society. So I think Councillor Hunt, and first I want to thank Dave Rudrick for his work, and May from our Economic Development for the work on the resolution, and just for the work trying to resolve this problem, and our police force who was demoralized, trying to, you know, pick up criminals, take them to the jail to book them, and then while they're laughing, I'm saying I'm going to be released in an hour, and they're right, and they know they're right.
Extra time, Councillor.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Councillor Samwell.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say that I also had the opportunity to attend the town hall, and I often have businesses reach out to me with their struggles with break-ins and vandalism. And I just wanted to say that I fully support this resolution tonight, especially the call to move scrap metal bylaw to a provincial legislation and to strengthen the bail reforms. These steps are essential to keep Brantford businesses and our neighborhoods safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Van Tilburg.
Thank you, Chair. I'm incredibly happy to support this resolution. Scrap steel, metals needs to be in the hands of the province. If I go back in time, I believe it's Richard Carpenter who probably started the first resolution forward on how to handle scrap steel, and that's been going through the hands of bad actors. It was then updated again once by myself, updated again once by Councillor Wall, updated again once again by myself regarding catalytic converters, as we keep trying to keep up to what the latest item is on the agenda for them to steal. And then we were updated again last year. And the bottom line is that, as has been expressed, is that the materials can leave the city. So all we do is we disrupt them for a period of time until it's a new game in town. In the meantime, all of our businesses, all members of the community suffer. It's obviously the businesses are getting hit and the effects are catastrophic, but it's also members of the community. This happens all throughout our ward. And so the fact that we can't put a lockdown on anything, because there's always even a pickup truck to come in and grab that stuff and move it to another city for them, that's not helping the matter. I'd also like to address the part that Councillor Carpenter hedged upon regarding Birch Correctional. There's a direct correlation from the time that Birch Correctional closed and the increases of these petty crimes, because there is no longer any accountability. There is no respite for anyone in the community, because as was mentioned and as the delegations agreed, the people who do these things are back on the street in no time. So we need a couple of things, laws that actually put them somewhere, some accountability, and they need to be taken away from the community. Birch Correctional was a fantastic thing for the community to keep these things in check, to stop criminals from going to the next highest level, and more importantly, to keep them out from being sent back into the very community to commit the same crimes the very next day. They can do it by the evening, for crying out loud. So this council's also passed a resolution to the provincial government to invest in another 2-year less a day facility for incidents like this, so that before people go down the beaten path, that they might learn a lesson and they might learn something else to do. But right now, this is not a good thing for our community to have all these businesses coming in here and saying, we've got to do something that stops them from losing tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars because somebody's trying to steal petty Annie's worth of copper so that they can have a drug fixation taken care of. This is just bad all around. It's bad business. It's bad. It's not bad policing, but it certainly is bad accountability. And I think that having the province take control of this is a positive step. Now, we've seen the examples in Alberta, and I believe that that's been more effective. It's not the all end game, because the province also has to learn every little trick in every avenue, that because criminals always update their schemes. But one thing they can't do is we can't be having, hey, Brantford's done this, Windsor and London, would you do this? Oh, now we've done this, would you do this? We are constantly chasing our tails, and no city is keeping up to the changes that are happening out there. So I look forward to supporting this resolution.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McCurry.
Sure, thank you very much. Well, there are two components to this. Of course, one is direct provincial government, the other should be directed at the federal government. And kudos to Councillor Hunt for carrying this initiative forward, support for Councillor Carpenter. The provincial legislation will be a boon to this community and to other communities, because it will create the same playing field across the province. It will not give folks the opportunity to steal items of Brantford and Solomon Hamilton. But I think one has to consider the most overriding factor at play here, and that is legislation that was introduced some time ago by the Trudeau government that mandated that folks be released on bail, except for the most heinous of offenses. And you have to consider that the people who are stealing this stuff are doing it. It's a small business for them. I like to think of the anecdote, I don't know if it's true or not, about the gentleman who was charged with car theft and let on bail, who stole a car to get home. So if these folks are in remand and if they're in jail for the crimes that they commit, they're not committing more crimes. Larry Brock, our member of parliament, has been very active with respect to crisscrossing this country, trying to drum up support for reform to bail laws. I think everybody that's interested in this should be supporting Larry and his endeavor as well. I know I, for one, will be supporting this tonight, and I know everybody here will be, and will present a united front. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sluss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I too wholeheartedly supporting this initiative. But I do have a friendly amendment. I assume it would be friendly, and it's before I get to the friendly amendment, it doesn't serve us well unless we get all municipalities buying in at the same time. And so I would suggest that the letter that staff are going to be drafting be circulated to all municipalities in Ontario requesting their endorsement.
Yeah, I believe Amo's included in the list, so it would get circulated to the other municipalities that way, I believe.
If they're going to do that, if people read it, but if it's sent directly to them from Brantford to them, I think you would have a far better chance of somebody reading it.
Okay, do the mover and seconder accept that as friendly?
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Strong views on this, and I appreciate Councillor Hunt and Councillor Carpenter for bringing this forward, because this is something that's very long overdue. Not only from putting it in the hands of the government that needs to be controlling this, but at the same time, addressing all facets of it. But I think one area that needs to be addressed as well is, when it comes to the guilt factor, is there's always a buyer. So we can steal what we want, but somebody has to be on the other end buying. And I think we need to toughen the laws on those individuals that are buying the products, whether it be scrapyards or so forth. I know here in the city, we have e-transfers, different things, but at the end of the day, if we're moving things to another city, there has to be something in place that has a penalty for the people buying this as well. Unless it's coming from an actual business where they can bring proof of everything that has to be there. So I'll support it, but I just want everyone to understand that I think at the end of the day, it's not just people stealing, it's people that are buying it as well.
Thank you. Before I go to second time speakers, just have a few comments. It's been referred to that these people are out on bail very quickly, which is absolutely true. The other problem is there's other forms of release that don't even require bail. It's just a promise to appear in court. And unfortunately, not everybody bothers to show up for their court date, and then the police have to start looking for them. So it's not just bail, it's all the other release forms that need to be addressed. And we need to keep some of these repeat criminals in jail until their trial comes up. Because the number of offenses that some of these repeat criminals commit, just because they've been released again and again and again to recommit again and again and again is mind-blowing. When I was on the police services board, we got a list of the most prolific criminals, and some were over 40 charges that they're on the hook for, and they haven't had a trial for the first one yet. So it's something that is sorely needed to be addressed, and hopefully the federal government will take a look at that and make some changes. They've said they will, but they haven't done anything yet. We'll see what happens. With that, Councillor Hunt, you wanted a second speaking?
I do, thank you, and through you, I also wanted to talk about the fact that this is really the start of an advocacy program. And so the part of this is for us to develop a template letter and provide the businesses with the email addresses and or physical addresses of our MPP, of the Attorney General, of our MP and of the Minister of Public Safety. So the letter, what we really want is, this started out as a Ward 4 issue. We're now bringing it wide open. It's a wide open city issue. This template letter, once it's available, we want every business in Brantford and then every business in every other municipality, because we're talking strength in numbers. These elected politicians need to get hundreds, thousands of these letters in their inboxes. They need to know that the constituents out there are demanding change. And that's where the advocacy component comes in. So I'm sure we will pass this unanimously tonight, but it really needs to go out to all the businesses, not just the ones in the room, the Chamber of Commerce, every business that has been affected, or even if they haven't been affected, them writing letters, getting these so that there's, as I said, hundreds, if not thousands of emails being received by these elected officials that will drive that change. There is really strength in numbers. And so that particular letter template we've got right in the resolution will be available by the end of the month. And this resolution will come before council in 2 weeks for final approval. So at that point, it's really, we want all of the businesses to get on board, get those letters written. And we want your individual, this can't look like a form letter. We want your individual experiences, what it is that you've gone through, the cost to your business, the cost of your insurance. If you're not insurable anymore, then we need to tell people that. So we really need to make it personalized from individual business perspectives. And I do want to wrap up also by thanking our Director of Bylaw, Mr. Wiedrich. We worked on this back at the end of 2023, got the bylaw passed in early 2024, and our intentions were good. And now we are a year and a half in, and we know that we need more. And also our Economic Development Department has got fully behind us and realizes that we need to do this to support our business community. And again, I want to thank the Chamber for the Chamber Advocacy Committee for picking this up as well. And let's just hope that that as we get this passed and as we get this moved on to the province, that we can get tens of thousands of voices behind the need for this provincial legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And for businesses that haven't been affected by this, I think the word that follows that is yet. Because it's prolific through the city, and unfortunately it's something that is very detrimental to a lot of businesses, and hopefully we can get the province to buy into this. Councillor Carpenter.
And just as the next step, again, there isn't a day that goes by that the councillor around this table doesn't get a call from a constituent that says our street was broken into, the cars on our street were broken into. This crime wave it's hitting the businesses, but it's also hitting every community across the city. And everybody in the city of Brantford thinks, well, that's just Brantford. It's not. It's all across the province. It's happening everywhere. So we need to have legislation that says you commit the crime, you're going to do some time. You're going to pay, and we need the resources to do that, make that happen. So thanks to staff, thanks to the businesses that came forward publicly to support us and at the meeting and said, we'll help out, we'll send those letters in. It's going to make a difference. I think it's the right step. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McCurry.
Sure, thank you. One additional thing that came to mind here in Councillor Carpenter's comment. While the police are rounding up these 100 people that commit offenses on a daily basis, they're also not being able to provide traffic enforcement. And it really creates an entire tornado of social disorder. People run stop signs, red lights, doing 90 and a 50. And these are the results of the fact that our police resources are a pretty skinny chicken when you've got to run down these same 50 or 100 birds day after day after day after day. That's a resource that's completely wasted. And we lose as a community, we lose as a society because of folks that are put right back on the street to do the same thing they did on Monday, again on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. I also want to point, I wanted to point out, the Chamber was here in numbers today, and I don't know if he's still here, but he was here a bit earlier. Former Councillor Woodburn was in the audience as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no further comments, we'll call the question.
Thank you. Item 8.4 carried unanimously on a recorded vote of 9-0. All those voting in favor are Councillor Sullivan, Caputo, Sless, Martin, McCurry, Carpenter, Hunt, Samuel, and Van Tilburg.
Thank you. Councillor Sless, if you could please read the motion to place separated items for consideration and consent not previously voted on the floor and state your second.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's moved by myself, seconded by my ward mate, Councillor Caputo, that all items for consideration and consent, namely 7.1 and 7.2, separated for discussion purposes, be approved.
Thank you. We'll now consider the other items of delegations, beginning with 7.1.2. Demolition of detached garage, potential remedies to designated dwelling 138 Sydenham Street. Any discussion? Councillor McCurry.
Sure, thank you. I'm happy to support this tonight. We've heard from the proponent, the owner of the building. I think what's before us is a reasonable proposition. And I think we also have assurance that some of the outstanding matters relating to the demo of that porch are going to be dealt with in short order. Thank you for your presentation and thank you for your advocacy. And maybe you'll invite us once it's built, and we can come have a look.
Yeah, you seeing nothing further? We'll call the question.
Okay, item 7.1.2 carried unanimously on a recorded vote of 9-0. All those voting in favor are Councillor Sullivan, Caputo, Sless, Martin McCurry, Carpenter, Hunt, Samwell, and Vincelberg.
Okay, now we'll consider item 7.1.3, Bill 5 and Bill 17, legislative updates. We have speakers to this. I believe Councillor Samuel, you have an amendment.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and move my amendment then. So moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Van Tilburg, that this will just add an item C. So that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Brantford hereby endorse AMO's submission to the Standing Committee on the Interior titled Unleash Your Economy by Protecting Communities, sent May 26, 2025, requesting that the province include municipalities in the development of regulatory framework to implement special economic zones, and oppose provisions contained in Bill 5 that would reduce environmental protections, override municipal planning authority, or prevent good faith consultation with Indigenous communities, and encourage the province to support responsible housing and infrastructure growth through environmentally sound policies, local planning tools, and projects that protect sensitive wildlife and natural resources, and respectfully request that Bill 5, Protecting Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act 2025 be repealed, and consultation with the municipal organizations such as the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Rural Ontario Municipality Association be prioritized for the creation of legislation that would accomplish shared goals between both levels of government as equal partners. And D, that the city clerk be directed to send a copy of the resolution to Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Rob Flock, Minister of Municipal Affairs, the Honorable Greg Rickford, Minister of Indigenous Affairs and First Nations Economic Reconciliation of Ontario, Will Buma, Minister of Provincial Parliament for Brantford Brant, and Larry Brock, Member of Parliament for Brantford Brant, and the Association of Municipalities, and all other Ontario municipalities. And I'll go ahead and speak to that. So first, I wanted to thank everyone who came forward tonight with your delegations. They were thoughtful delegations, and your voice matters, and we were glad we were able to hear from you. Tonight, we have more than just information before us. We have the opportunity to respond in a way that protects our community's voice, safeguards local decision-making, and ensures we can plan responsibly for the future. This amendment ensures our response is clear and grounded in the values we share as a community. The report before us outlines potential impacts of Bill 5, impacts that could change the way our city plans, grows, and protects its environment. I believe this is the right moment to move from information to action. By supporting this amendment, we make our position clear to the province that local voices matter, environmental stewardship matters, and Indigenous consultation matters. Bill 5, in its current form, risks bypassing voices of local councils, residents, and Indigenous partners. It risks undermining years of thoughtful planning in favor for one-size-fits-all approaches. Once the authority is gone, it's very difficult to get it back. This amendment supports the Association of Municipalities of Ontario in calling for meaningful consultation with municipalities before significant legislative changes are made. It rejects any legislation that strips municipalities of planning authority or environmental protections, and it calls for responsible, sustainable growth that respects our environment and partnership and the needs for future generations. This isn't about slowing growth or blocking progress. It ensures growth is smart, sustainable, and respectful. We all want a thriving economy, but not at the cost of our environment, our planning authority, or our relationships with our Indigenous communities. By passing this amendment tonight, we send a clear message to the province. Work with us, not around us. Let's be on the record as standing up for our community's future, our environment, and the right to make local decisions in the best interest of the people we serve. So I hope you'll support this amendment tonight and we can join the voices of our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Chair, and I am very pleased to support the amendment. I think that we're seeing coming out of the provincial government a number of attempts to really chip away at local democracy. So, you know, we're coming up to a municipal election at the end of next year, and you know, it's very hard for us as elected officials at the municipal level to try to explain that we don't have any power anymore over things like development that's happening in our community. And so I think it's very important for us to keep that local democratic process in place so that we can make decisions on behalf of the constituents of the city of Brantford that are in the best interests of the city of Brantford. So by that, I'm fully supportive of the amendment and thank Councillor Samuel for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Councillor Vintelborg.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I'm happy to support the amendment and the changes that are put forth in it. My main basis being that there's many times that the city needs something, the community needs something, and we want to offer it to them. And what we don't do is we don't say, yes, and we're going to do that and give us a blank check. We don't do that with our community. We don't do that with each other. And I don't believe we want to do that with the provincial government. And this Bill 5 and Bill 17 is essentially just that. It's a blank check. It's trust us. Now, I know that there needs to be some serious economic development coming forth, and I'm on board with that. I know that there are pressures coming from the country south of us, making it more difficult. So I want to help the Ford government, but I'm not prepared in any way to abdicate my responsibilities as a councillor, to give them a blank check, and to assume that some technocrat talking to a member of cabinet knows more about what's happening in the community of Brantford and what the fallout might be than we do, because we certainly do. So in a nutshell, short of the things that I did here in the presentation, such as who's footing the bill, it would often appear to be a senior citizen in their home paying property taxes that might get pushed on more of the costs for the concept of rush development. And that can be in any form. So again, I'm just saying in a real nutshell, we have a responsibility to ourselves, to the community, public consultation. I know we've all learned some valuable lessons on public consultation. I kind of don't go without it. And even at the most difficult times, I believe if you give the citizens the hardcore facts, the things that we're facing and why something that should be done, the majority will always go with you. You don't have to ram something through. So I'll be supporting this amendment. I think it balances the needs of the province with the needs of our community.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to echo the facts of the other councillors that have spoken so far. This is just a prime example of where the provincial government stepping in and undermining municipal authority. They should be focusing on the prior item that we just discussed with regards to scrap metal thieves, as opposed to meddling in with our business and allowing us to run our city the way we think it's fit. This is just one area where they've crossed the line, and we need to be very vocal. And I hope the other municipalities are being vocal as well.
Thank you, Councillor Sless.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to applaud Councillor Samuel for bringing this forward. It sounds well thought out. I think it hits the touch points that need to be hit. However, we did hear a lot this evening that kind of sparked things in my mind that I would hope we would be open to some fine tuning when it comes to council 2 weeks hence, because I think we get one shot at this, and I'd like to get it right. I think we've got a great foundation here to build on, but we can probably even enhance it a little more as we go through the 2-week period before it comes to council for final ratification. So kudos for doing that, Councillor Samwell. And I think everything we heard tonight should be encapsulated in the response that we send back. And perhaps there were some things said that I really hadn't considered until I heard them this evening that I think maybe should be part of it. So having said that, I'm certainly going to be supporting it and looking at maybe even fine tuning it a little more as we go forward to council. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McCreary.
Sure, thank you. Well, just not every night I learn something in here. Tonight, I learned about the rusty patch bumblebee. We have them in our backyard, so there must be something in the backyard that they eat. We've got milkweed, which attracts monarch butterflies. We've had them for the last few weeks. And like you in the audience and those of us here, I have some trouble with what the provincial government has done in terms of Bill 5 and Bill 17. It certainly is to some extent heavy-handed, and it really does obliterate some of the responsibility and rights that we as a community and as a council formerly have enjoyed. So I'm happy to support this today. I suspect that there's a big old shredder at Queen's Park somewhere where missives like this are received warmly. Not just from this government, but from government in general. I don't think a lot of what we say has a lot of meaning. There's reference tonight to the democratic process, and what we're seeing in front of us is the democratic process. These guys went to the polls in 2025, was it? Got a whopping majority, and what you see is what they got. So they have a majority at Queen's Park, and you're seeing that in front of us tonight. So we'll certainly support this today. And I think Councillor Sless is right that to some extent what we've got in terms of the amendment, it's a bit ad hoc, and it will bear some fine tuning in the time before it comes to council. Perhaps we can make it perhaps a little more specific, and maybe somebody will even read it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also am going to be supporting this. Not every day that Councillor Samuel and I have a conversation in the afternoon, but we certainly had a very productive one this afternoon. She was going over this with me. So, it's ironic when this was showing up on the agenda, it really came in as just an information report to council because everything has already been passed. But to be able to have our input and to be able to sit back and tell the government that, you know what, as Councillor Sullivan said, let us do our job, you do your job. And at the end of the day, we need to be able to take ownership of what we're doing, and we do a pretty good job, I think. And then listening to everybody here tonight talk about standing up for you. This is, I think, what we're doing with this here tonight. And at the same time, we're trying to be able to set a standard too. But as we talk about this, it's all well and good, but we're going to get calls as councillors going forward. And I'm not sure how many calls are going to our member of provincial parliament, where really this belongs to. If we're going to have our hands tied, somebody owns that. So I just want to be able to let everybody else know that going forward. But at the same time, great job. And I hope that appeases everyone here that we aren't standing, just sitting down, taking this lightly. Thank you.
Councillor Carpenter.
Yeah, the legislation was called Bill 5, the Protect Ontario by Unleashing the Economy Act 2025. And Bill 17 is the Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act. Does it sound like the big, beautiful bill? We hear that south of the border, put a nice name on it, and then maybe people won't look into it. But I got to tell you, what we're doing here is because we believe in what we're going to do here. The province isn't going to listen to us. They didn't listen to us when they stripped the Grand River Conservation Authority and the Conservation Authority Act that affected the Grand River Conservation Authority, which is going to slowly peel away at GRCA. That legislation will slowly take that right away. Now, it seems to me like the province just listened to every concern any developer had anywhere. This is in my way. This road's in my way. These people are in my way. this, this Endangered Species Act is getting in my way, it's slowing me down because I've got to look at this stuff. Everything that's in their way, well, we'll just get rid of that. We'll just wipe it out. But even more importantly, what they've done here is they've given the minister the right to change legislation and change the act without going back to Parliament. He can just change it. He can just say, okay, I'm going to change the Ontario Building Code. I'm going to change the fire code so it fits with your development. Maybe you want 6 stories without fire protection. Maybe you don't. Maybe the minister can make overriding decisions over the Planning Act. We as a council and as a city have done a tremendous job reviewing our official plan, reviewing our Planning Act legislation. We have the most up-to-date planning legislation. We've got the most up-to-date digital ways to apply to find out what you can build where and when and how. And we've got a tremendous team in our planning department moving things forward as quick as possible to get things built. And that's what we want to do. But what's happening here is it seems to me like now I'm going to be able to go to my buddy and say, look, this is in my way. Could you take care of that for me? Maybe you can make it a special economic zone. Because now a friend of mine has 500 or 600 acres over there. Maybe we'll just make this an economic zone. And guess what? We'll build like crazy over here for you guys, because you're good supporters. But we are creatures of the province. This isn't the first time. The province brought in the Strong Mayors Act, violation of democracy in itself. Right
Councillor,
there.
that's your time.
This is not unusual for this to happen. Well, I'm 4 minutes already?
Yeah.
Well, put me back on then.
Okay, Councillor McCreary.
Just want to make sure that the story that gets told in the newspaper tomorrow reflects the fact that both these bills have received royal assent and that there's really no action that we can take other than sending a letter of discontent that's going to have any impact whatsoever. So perhaps it can be reiterated that calls should be directed to the provincial representatives rather than the city representatives.
Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Carpenter.
So we're creatures of the province, and the province doesn't, they decide. So when they brought in the Strong Mayors legislation, that violated the democracy in itself. And we've seen that act in place. And we've seen other things where the province has just decided that that's what they're going to do. They're going to tell municipalities what to do. They want to do away with municipalities. They just want to make us the yes people for the provincial government. And yes, democracy is messy. It takes time. You have to talk to people. You have to have different points of views. You have to share ideas. You have to talk back about why this is good, why this isn't good. You have to have that kind of communication. But yeah, that's slow and cumbersome. But that's not what this province is talking about, building houses. They're not talking about building houses for the poor. They're talking about building 2,000 square foot houses, $500,000 million houses. They're not talking about building 1,000 square foot houses like we used to have back in World War II. We built the wartime houses because we had a huge housing shortage. There's no program to build housing by the province, the provincial government, or the federal government. Well, the federal government has a big house accelerator program. I wonder if Larry Brock's applied to it. I understand that the leader of the Conservative Party has told the members not to apply for it. But the accelerator fund, I'd like to ask that question to Larry Brock right here. Larry, have you asked the federal government for some of that funding so we can build housing in our community? I don't think so. But I'd be willing to be proven wrong. So the province, being creatures of the province will do whatever it wants with us. I don't think you saw the last of what this province government's going to do before they're finished with municipal government. It's changed a lot since I've been here. I've watched the powers and the authority of municipal councillors to listen to their constituents and move decisions being eroded every year I've been in office. I've watched the slow erosion from us approving lots of things that are now approved somewhere else. Thank you.
Seeing nothing further, we'll call the vote on the amendment.
And the amendment carried on a recorded vote of 9-0. All those voting in favor are Councillors Van Tilburg, Samuel, Hunt, Carpenter, McCurry, Martin, Sluss, Caputo, Sullivan, and that's it.
Okay, any questions, comments on the motion as amended? I think everybody had their say during the amendment, so we'll call the question.
And item 7.1.3 as amended carried unanimously on a recorded vote of 9-0. All those voting in favor are Councillor Sullivan, Caputo, Celeste, Martin, McCreary, Carpenter, Hunt, Samwell, and Van Tilburg.
Okay, that deals with everything that we had delegations for. So with the council approval, I'll do a 5-minute break to allow people to exit. Unless, of course, they wish to stay and see the rest of the agenda. We could have councilors return. We'll get this meeting going again.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item we'll consider is 7.1.5 downtown facade and safety improvement grant program, since there was a conflict noted. Any questions, comments? Councilor Samwell.
Yeah, so I just wanted to quickly speak to that because I don't think that the downtown facade grant gets highlighted often enough, and I'm actually really excited to see 50 King Street taking advantage of that. Obviously, it would be nice if there was never a need to access these grants, but the glass vestibule and the exterior lighting that they're proposing is beautiful, while it'll also improve safety. So I just wanted to say that I'm very supportive of this. I'm hoping that everybody else will also support this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing nothing further, we'll call the question.
Item 7.1.5 carried on a recorded vote of 7-1. All those in favor are Councillor Sullivan, Caputo, Slash, Carpenter, Hunt, Samuel Van Tilburg. Those opposed, Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Councillor Slush, you asked for 7.1.1 to be separated?
I did. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to strike and replace, if I could get the clerk to put up on the replace, please.
Councillor, it's in e-scribe if you want to go to that and read it from there. Oh, there it is.
Okay, we have it now. This is basically the amendment that was captured in the memo that was circulated today. So everybody's had a chance to see it, I would presume, I would hope. Anyways, move it myself, seconded by my ward mate, Councilor Caputo, that report 2025-393 entitled, this isn't the right thing I'm looking at. It's not coming. Oh, okay, here we go. I'll read it here. Sorry. Okay, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Caputo, that item 7.1.1 be struck and be replaced with the following. A, that report 2025-322 entitled Lane Closing and Conveyance behind 15, 19, and 13 the Strand be received, and that the lane closing and conveyance behind 19, 15, and 13 the Strand be approved, and that staff be directed to initiate the process to convey a portion of the Strand Avenue fronting on the properties located at 13 and 7 the Strand Avenue to the property owners of 13 and 7 the Strand, and that the necessary closure and conveyance by law be presented to City Council for adoption following the prescribed public notice process. So just very briefly, I think we've debated this item a number of times. I'm not going to get into it. This is a staff recommendation coming from the legal department and coming from the planning department. So it's not it's been well thought out, and it's, I believe, the correct decision to be made. So I would ask folks to approve. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing nothing further, we'll call the question on the amendment.
And the amendment carried on a recorded vote of 7-2. Those councillors in favor are Councillors Caputo, Slash, Martin, McCreary, Hunt, Samuel Van Tilburg. Those opposed, Councillor Carpenter and Councillor Sullivan.
Okay, with that, on the motion as amended. See nothing, we'll call the vote.
Sorry, item 7.1.1 as amended, carried on recorded vote of 7-2. All those voting in favor are Councillors Van Tilburg, Samwell, Hunt, McCrary, Martin, Slus, Caputo. Those opposed, Councillor Sullivan and Councillor Carpenter.
Okay, we have 4 resolutions on tonight's agenda. One we've already dealt with. So Councillor Carpenter, if you would move your resolution and state your seconder.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Samwell. Whereas the municipal government plays a vital role in the well-being, development, and effective representation of citizens of Brantford, and whereas ensuring that the prospective city councils are well-informed and prepared to fulfill the responsibilities of public office is essential to the continued success and accountability of municipal government. Whereas offering structured training and planning opportunities prior to the commencement of formal duties encourages transparency, diversity, and civic engagement. Therefore, be it resolved that Council Corporation City of Brantford supports the development and implementation of a comprehensive pre-candidacy training and orientation program for individuals interested in running for City Council in future municipal elections. The program shall include, but not limited to, an overview of municipal government structure, responsibilities, budgetary processes, and financial oversight, strategic planning and policy development, public engagement and communication protocols, diversity, equity, and inclusion principles in municipal leadership. City staff be directed to collaborate with relevant municipal associations, AMO, Municipalities of Ontario, community stakeholders, and educational institutions to design and deliver this program. The clerk's office be tasked with preparing a report outlining the scope, estimated cost, delivery format, and potential funding options for the program to be presented to City Council no later than, and insert the deadline, I would say, no later than the last quarter of 2025. And the program be promoted widely through community outreach, social media, municipal communication channels to ensure equitable access and awareness among all eligible Brantford residents. This initiative aligns with the City of Brantford's commitment to good governance and good and civic education. So, and speaking to it, really, I've been in municipal council for a long time. A lot of councilors come and they get elected and they go, "Wow, didn't know it was that much work. Didn't know that we had to do this. Didn't know we had to do that. Didn't know my phone was going to be ringing off the hook 24 hours a day." And, you know, a lot of councillors, there's always been 3 new councillors every election in history that I can recall. I think that, but I think this next election is going to be a larger turnover than we've seen in a long time. And I think it's important that we educate. There's lots of people interested. They just don't know what the job entails. What does the campaign entail? And I think that we just want to give people the opportunity, and we can add in this for the clerk's office that we want to review the current members of council. What do they think needs to be added? And I drew this up. I'm quite open to any member of council want to add anything else that they think needs to be added here because of your experience will be helpful. We just need to get on with this. I don't want to wait until May 1st of next year. When you can run for office, it needs to be done well in advance of that so people know what their options are and whether they're interested or not. And the members of council can be involved in the training process. Maybe they'll take on, show some in the process of what they go through, what they do with their constituents, and so forth. Lots of options here. So I just think we need to get into this early and make sure we have as many people run for office. The more people run for office, the better a democracy. It serves everyone well when there's lots of candidates, lots of interested people that want to run for office. We get criticized as members of council, but this is really a thankless job, as all of us know. But in the sense that it's very thankful from the people. People are absolutely wonderful to deal with, and I find that the thankfulness is all the people that you meet. But politically, not so thankful. But from the people that you meet, certainly is. So that's my comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. And you're right about more people running, the better democracy is served, unless it's 200 or more running. No, it's not. Councillor Samuel.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify one thing. So I had an amendment, but I think that a friendly amendment, but I think Councillor Carpenter already added that just now. Could you confirm if that was added about councillors also being consulted?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll just go ahead and speak to it. So when this was first discussed about the idea of this coming forward, I was super excited to be able to support this. I think it's important that we take the time to really share with others what it is like to be a counselor and make sure that our future leaders of the city have all the training that they need. And so I look forward to this coming forward and anything that we can do to encourage more people to run for municipal council, because really we're the closest to the ones that affect their daily lives, and we should make sure that we have leaders that can lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McCurry.
Chair, thank you very much. I support this. Councillor Carpenter and I have talked about this. We do a lot of this now. We have mandatory statutory requirements with respect to the information that we have to provide. But I think back to what we've done in past, and I believe it was probably last election when Councillor Utley took the lead, and I think he spoke to the assembled multitude who came in to learn about the joys and perils of becoming a municipal councillor. And I'm pleased to see that Councillor Carpenter is going to be having staff look to councillors for suggestions about how they can weigh in and provide some guidance and some insight into what goes into making a councillor. As Councillor Carpenter alluded to, but didn't quite say, we have had some folks who won council seats only to find out it was not to their liking. And it sure would be a long 4 years to spend in a job that you don't like, only because you didn't really know what you were getting into. So it is a way to entice candidates. It's also a way to make sure that they get a healthy dose of reality before their name goes on the ballot as to what's involved. It's not the job it was when some of us first signed on. It comes with a lot more work, a lot more communication skill requirements. And quite frankly, it's not all positive sometimes. And when there's an issue that comes before us that's perhaps a little divisive, occasionally we see folks lining up with pitchforks and rope for the lampposts. So this is a very positive step. I can't imagine that we need to spend a lot of time consulting with community stakeholders and educational institutions like Councillor Carpenter. I'd like to see this advanced fairly quickly with a report back from the clerk well in advance of year end, so that we can roll this out and be ready to go on Writ Day, which is about the start of May, I think, in 2026. So kudos to the councillor for bringing this forward, and kudos to the rest of us for, I hope, supporting it unanimously on the vote tonight.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to support this too. I actually have been around for a long time and thought that I had a pretty good handle on what things were going to be. And I did attend, I believe, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs as a kind of candidate orientation. I'm going to say it was 2 hours down at TV Costain or something like that, which was basically what you can and cannot do during your election. It did not even scratch the surface of the depth of what being a city councillor is. And as somebody, as I said, that was pretty well informed and was pretty sure that I knew what I was getting into, got elected. I still remember coming in for a half-day orientation as a councillor elect, which was a fire hose of information from department heads about what all of the departments did. And here's your laptop, your iPad, and your phone, and pretty much good luck with all that. So I can say almost 3 years in, you finally start to feel like you might have a little bit of the lay of the land, and it takes that long, honestly, to get the lay of the land. So very happy to support this, and I think it's an initiative that should be picked up by someone like AMO where there is a course that you can actually take that gives you this information that you do need in order to be an effective councillor representing constituents.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sluss.
Yes, I think it's a great initiative. It certainly wasn't around in 1991. I had no idea where the washrooms were when I first got elected. I had no idea who did what, and I didn't know what to do when somebody called me with a problem. I didn't know who was going to look after it because I didn't know what responsibility lied with what department, and there was nobody to tell you. You just kind of wandered around knocking on doors till you found somebody that was friendly and said, yeah, go and see Harry, and Harry will straighten you out. So this is good. It'll help people, I think, feel comfortable and feel at home. It's a tough enough job to do without not having a clue and wandering around in the dark trying to find your way out. So I fully support this, and probably like my counterpart that left last term, I'll be leaving this term, and I'd be happy to talk to the folks that are coming in. I've probably seen pretty well everything you can see. There might be the odd thing I've missed, but I think pretty well see whatever goes on in here. I probably had a peek at it, so I'd be happy to share that with whatever folks thought was beneficial to them.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing nothing further, we'll call the vote.
Through the chair, so in the resolution there, we need to add a date in for the report back date. You know what date you wanted to have in there?
By the fourth quarter of 2025.
Just by the fourth quarter, okay. It says insert deadline, so fourth quarter is fine, perfect.
Okay.
And item 8.1 carry unanimously on a recorded vote of 9-0. All those voting in favor are Councillor Sullivan, Caputo, Sluss, Martin, McCurry, Carpenter, Hunt, Samuel, and Ventilberg.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Caputo, could you move your resolution and state your seconder, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Sluss. Whereas the Corporation of the City of Brantford entered a residential subdivision agreement with King and Benton Redevelopment Corporation on September 19th, 2020, pertaining to the lands located west of Parkside Drive between Burwell Street and Dufferin Avenue in accordance with M Plan 2M 1958. And whereas King and Benton Redevelopment Corp has since sold the property to Schuett Homes Incorporated, and whereas the subdivision agreement includes the requirement for the owner to construct sidewalks along all frontages connecting to the existing sidewalk on Burwell Street no later than the 5th anniversary of the date of approval for the final plan, October 2025. And whereas a request from the residents living on the west side of Parkside Drive has been brought forward to this portion of this to this portion of sidewalk from the subdivision agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the city staff be directed as follows. A, initiate an amendment to the subdivision agreement to remove the requirement for sidewalk construction, revise the associated engineering drawings to reflect the elimination of the sidewalk, and adjust the financial securities accordingly to the account for the reduced scope of work. And if I can just speak to this, I want to let everyone in the council know that this came from the residents on that street. Basically, we're talking about 7 to 8 homes that are currently built, and I think there's only a couple more that are going to be on that side of the street. I completely agree with the removal of the sidewalk, and the reason I say that is because that street right now has, if you start Parkside Drive from at the top of Abbott Road and you go all the way down to the end of Burwell, there's only one side of the sidewalk that's out there right now. To add a second side for a small little area there that have very small frontages, not only do they have small frontages, but they've also got all the services that go into the homes are coming from the front. And a bus that comes down that road. I think it's just going to cause a lot of chaos. I think it's going to cause a lot of parking issues. I think it's going to cause a lot of parking on the street and all various issues. And whenever residents come to me with something along the this line, I feel it's a necessity to be able to look after all their needs. So I hope this gets support. I hope that we address sidewalks, not only just today, but something that we look for into the future with. We're going to go into boundary lands and everything else. If it's not a main artery road, if it's not a secondary, we need to really address these third ones, because the biggest problem we have in the city of Brantford right now, in my belief, is parking. And I think we're building homes and we're putting a lot of cars in the street and it's causing a lot of havoc. So hope that everyone supports this. Again, 7 residents came forward and this is why we're here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Sluss.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'll be supporting this. It's what the residents, that are affected have asked for. However, a couple of them have, reached out. They're all retired people that live in these homes except for 2, and they do have some younger children. And the concern was, how to get them across, with no sidewalk to their home, safely. I guess they're young kids and they're starting school in September. If between now and council, if staff could come up with maybe a couple of ideas on how we could shift kids across the street in a safe manner, whether it's a crosswalk, whatever it is, to get them across, because they can't walk on that side. There's no sidewalk, so you don't want them on the road. So they'll have to get home on the opposite side of the street to their house, then somehow negotiate getting across that street. So if there's something we can do to make it safer for them to do that, would be appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Carpenter.
I'm trying to understand this. So there's 7 brand new homes being built on the railway land that the city didn't buy for some reason. That were, and none of those 7 homes want sidewalks in front of their houses. But there's sidewalks on the other side, Parkside Drive, in front of all the houses that are there. They have sidewalks. Is it my understanding the only people that we consulted was the 7 people that were going to have sidewalks as part of their property? And did we consult the people in the rest of the neighborhood about how the kids are going to walk to school? We just heard it from Councilor Sluss, concerned about how kids are going to cross the street. We also, if this sidewalk doesn't connect to Burwell Street, that's also the access to Wilkes Dam. It's a very popular location. So if you're coming up Burwell Street, you're going to now walk on the road, or you're going to cross the far side of Parkside Drive and then cross back over when you get to Wilkes Dam. I'm trying to understand the logic here. I can understand that if the neighborhood itself said, hey, we don't want sidewalks, any more sidewalks in our neighborhood. But the 7 residents, of course, they don't want sidewalks in front of their house. Who wants to shovel sidewalks when you don't have to? I'm just trying to understand the logic here. I don't know. We're talking about 7 people who don't want sidewalks on their property. And so we're going to reimburse the funding for the sidewalks to the developer, as opposed to, if we ever want sidewalks in the future, having the taxpayer pay for them. I'm just trying to understand what we're doing here in its entirety. Okay, thank you.
Seeing nothing further, I'll be supporting the ward councilors on this. I think they've looked at this situation and understand what's best for their neighborhood. With that, we'll call the question.
Thank you. Item 8.2 carried on a recorded vote of 8-1. All those voting in favor are Councilor Sullivan, Caputo, Sluss, Martin, McCreary, Hunt, Samuel, Van Tilburg. Those opposed, Councilor Carpenter.
Okay, the next resolution was one the mayor wanted to bring forward. He asked that this be deferred. The easiest way to defer this is if nobody moves and seconds it, it'll automatically carry over to next month. Seeing no mover, we'll move on. The next resolution we dealt with earlier because there was a delegation, which brings us to notice of motion. We have 3. Councilor Sullivan, if you could please read the title of your notice of motion.
Certainly. 9.1 Municipal Code, Chapter 206, Animal Control, Pigeons, 2025-433.
Thank you. And I'll read the mayor's 9.2 Sister City Relationship with Racine, Wisconsin. And Councilor Caputo, you have the third one.
Yes, 9.3 write-in access from Wayne Gretzky Parkway to 195 Henry Street, 2025-434.
Okay, with that, brings us to the end of the meeting. The notice of motion deadline for council agenda is Thursday, August 21st at 9 a.m. Meeting's adjourned.